This lesson is going to be on writing equations from word problems. Before we start, we're going to review the three forms of a linear equation that we could have. Standard form is going to be ax plus by is equal to c. And in standard form, there can be no fractions. Point slope form is y minus y1 was m parentheses x minus x1. And in point slope form, we can determine a point and the slope. So the point is going to be x1, y1, and the slope is going to be m. In slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. In slope-intercept form, we can determine the slope and the y-intercept. The slope is still m, and the y-intercept is b. Task 1. The Ramy family bought 4 sandwiches and 3 salads. They spent $24. X is the cost of the sandwich and Y is the cost of a salad. Write an equation in standard form. So since they already told us what our variables stand for, we don't have to identify them. So if they bought 4 sandwiches and X is the cost, that's going to be 4X. And 3 salads for Y dollars, 3Y, that's going to be equal to the $24 that they spent. So that would be my equation in standard form. Now I have to graph this. In order to graph it, I'm going to turn it into slope-intercept form. So first thing I'm going to do to get y by itself is I'm going to subtract 4x from each side. I'm left with 3y equals negative 4x plus 24. Now I'm going to divide each term by 3 to get y equals negative 4/3 x plus 8. Now to graph it, it's only the first quadrant because I only have positive numbers. We can't have a negative price. And it's not labeled, so I have to determine what I should number my axes by. Since my slope is 4/3 and my y-intercept is 8, I'm just going to label my axes by 1. It's always best to label it by as small of a number as possible so that it makes your graph look the clearest. So my x-axis and my y-axis are both going by 1. They don't always have to go by the same number, but the x's has to be consistent and the y-axis always has to be consistent. So now for my graph, I'm going to begin at 8 on the y-axis, and now I'm going to move down 4 over 3. Down 4 again to the right 3. And now since my values, my x and y is the price, it can be a decimal, so I'm going to connect my points with a straight line. But I'm not going to have arrows because I cannot go into the negatives for money. And then I have to make sure I label it. So I have 4x plus 3y equals 24. And part C says if each sandwich costs $3.75, how much should each salad cost? So I'm going to use my equation, 4x plus 3y equals 24. The sandwich costs $3.75, so that means that x is going to be equal to $3.75. So I have 4 times 375 plus 3y equals 24. 4 times 375 is 15, so 15 plus 3y equals 24. Subtract 15 from each side. 3y equals 9. Divide by 3, y equals 3. So that means that each salad will cost $3. Luis has $36 in $5 bills and singles. How many of each type of bill does she have? Write an equation in standard form. In this problem, they didn't tell us what our variables stand for, so we have to state what they stand for. So x is going to be the number of $5 bills, and y is going to be the number of $1 bills. So since it's $5 bills, it's going to be 5 times the number, which is x, plus 1 for $1 times the number y is going to be equal to 36. Now I have to graph this situation. I'm going to graph it by turning it into slope-intercept form. So I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides, and I'm left with y is equal to negative 5x plus 36. So my slope is negative 5 over 1, and my y-intercept is 36. Now in this case, my y value, I have to start at 36, so I can't go by ones. And again, you want to go by as small of a number as possible. So I'm going to go by 4s. So we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 8, 2. So going by 4s worked out well because I have 36, and that's my y-intercept. For the x values, I'm going to go by 1 because I just have to move to the right 1. So I'm going to start my graph at 36 on the y-axis. Then I'm going to go down 5, so that's to 31, and to the right 1, so just a little bit below 32. Now I'm just going to keep graphing that, so I go down 5 to 26 over 1. Down 5 again to 21 over 1. Down 5 to 16 over 1. Down to 11 and over 1. Down to 6 and over 1. And down to 1 and over 1. Now in this case, since x is the number of bills, you cannot have a decimal amount of bills, $5 bills, or singles. So I'm not going to connect my points. I'm just going to leave it as the dots. So this would be a discrete graph because the information can be separated. So I would label it still 5x plus y equals 36.